get out!
Hello tankers and tankettes, welcome to another viewer spotlight. This has been sent in to me by a member of the Cirque clan, BaconBaps. And you know, he's in Cirque, but he's still okay, even though he's not in Cirque 2, which is obviously the coolest of the clans. He's actually platooned up with someone from Cirque 2, Epic Rabbit 95 over there in a Leo 1. You might recognise that name because of course I featured two of his comic replays fairly recently. But yeah, when I opened this file, obviously I had no idea, for the first time, I had no idea Epic Rabbit was going to be in here as well, so that's just a happy coincidence. But I think people from the Cirque clans, they platoon with each other fairly regularly, so it's now that there's 3 clans, there's even more platooning goes on, which is, you know, it's a good thing. That's why people join clans, is for the social aspect. Anyway, it's the mouse, you guys. I want a mouse. I want it so bad. I should say this is a .87 replay, so sniper view completely bugged out. It's all going to have to be free camera view, so you'll have to excuse my my awesome mouse moving skills. So awesome. Not that I need to do lots of quick changes with the mouse, of course, because it's a mouse, and mouse is not quick. Although it could still beat a Tog in a road race. That would be something, actually, Tog versus mouse. Anyway. The other thing I'm going to say is the chat is going to be blurred out rapidly, you know, in the very near future, because one of the people on this team gets very butthurt about something, and I just yeah, lots of swearing ensues on the part of this person. And I thought, okay, there's no way to disable the chat, and the censor messages things apparently doesn't work in replay, so that's all going to have to be blurred out. So Bacon is slowly making his way towards the city, and this is actually quite a nice matchup for a mouse. Obviously he's top tier, but there's no artillery on either team, and also the only tank destroyer the enemy team has is a tier 9. You know, that's still got a fairly nasty gun that could still hurt him, but there aren't any tier 10 tank destroyer guns floating around that he has to worry about. And he's getting somewhat towards cover, but actually this is still not a bad position for a mouse, even though he's sort of relatively in the open. Because everyone's shooting at him from a distance, basically, they're just so much less likely to hit his weak spots. And it's the same with any heavily armoured tank. If you're in a situation where there's no artillery, it's actually not a bad place to be out in the open, depending on quite how far away your enemies are from you, because most armoured tanks have got big weak spots, or, you know, they've got some weak spots that it's possible a lot easier to hit at close range, but a lot harder to get at long range. You'll also notice maybe that he has got quite a lot of premium ammunition, but he doesn't actually resort to using any of it in this battle. The mouse gun is not fantastic for a tier 10 gun. It's the kind of gun that would be okay on at tier 9. It would be a really superb tier 8 gun. It'd be an okay tier 9 gun, but on a tier 10 it's just kind of lackluster. So that's quite why he's got so much gold. And I'm going to guess, you know, those times when he needs the gold ammo, he's probably not too worried about making a profit, because no one drives a tier 10 tank to make a profit. So there we go, he's actually killed something already. He's done 1k damage, which is not bad. He's not exactly in the thick of it, but the situation at the moment, I mean, it's 2-5, it's not great, and unfortunately Epic Rabbit was one of the ones on the team that's died already. They are looking a little bit outnumbered, but it's not exactly, it's not dire just yet. I mean, the enemy team's being fairly cautious here. They're not rushing at all. They're actually just being very cautious, staying in cover, and I'm not quite sure why, because this team doesn't, you know, there's no artillery. There is an E3 tank destroyer, but even so. So can I get that 50B? Yes, that's another nice shot. Look at the number of shells he's bouncing. This is ridiculous. This is why I want a mouse. It's just got ultra troll levels of armor. It's not invulnerable by any means, but fighting at these distances, it's really you know, unless an enemy's got a super accurate gun, it's really quite unlikely they're going to hit you in the weak spots. There we go, that's another one disposed of. So he's got a choice of targets here. That 110E5 has actually noticed he's there. The friendly E4, E4? IS4 is quite low health. If we look behind him, there's an IS7 as well. And the E75 over there has also got a decent number of hit points. But he's still got all of his 3,000 hit points, so he's doing alright. He's actually fired about half his regular AP shells as well. But the number of APCR shells he's got is actually, you know, it's going to be more expensive, but he's not going to run out of ammo anytime soon. Because the mouse even has got no shortage of storage space, clearly. Look at the holes there. I've got all, you know, that's gone through the side skirts, or rather, it's hit the side skirts. And bear in mind that, of course, then you've got the tracks as well, which are also acting as spaced armor. So it's almost double spaced armor with those side skirts. They've got to get through the side skirts and the tracks in order to get to the hull underneath. So that those are, you know, fire heat ammo at the side of a mouse, and it's very, very unlikely to do anything, unless you're firing at the top half, of course. But if you're firing into the track area at all, it's just going to go and explode on the outside. There's another one down, nearly 3k damage at this point. Now this 110E5 is pretty much in his face. Unfortunately, this means exposing his side, which is, yeah, that one went right through. So yeah, but he's still got that. I think those are two things that shot him at once there, because that was a lot of hit points he lost at once. So he's keeping himself angled basically against all the enemies here as best he can. And on another tank, this might be a bit of an naff. You know, this angle wouldn't work on another tank, but yeah, see that one he was shooting at the LFP there, and that one actually did damage him, but he's still got over 1,000 hit points left, and his armor is still bouncing a lot. His tracks are eating some of these quite nicely. There we go. That's one tier 10 down. IS3 is not much of a worry. The T30 over there is probably the only one that's but the E75 can maybe deal with that, given that the T30 is now a one-shot kill. So he's clearly prioritised the IS3, PTA and VK. IS3 is really, really low health, and he doesn't have a hope of really, you know, if he had some gold ammo and was aiming at weak spots maybe. And that VK over there, also really low health. So there we go. The unstoppable mouse, 4.5k damage. And the T30 is over to his right somewhere, but even if he takes another shot from the T30, that's entirely survivable. And we're now 10-12, so he's basically dragged this back. You know, he's got 6 kills, 7 kills. And those last couple were really low health, but he's dragged this team back from the brink. Yeah, he's wisely avoiding going down to that dip there, because then he'd have to drive up the other side. Mouse is not the quickest tank. Now the southern flank was, I think, just beaten fair and square, so they're probably heading to our cap now. We shall see anyway. The IS7 is in fairly good nick. He really wasn't, despite the fact that BaconBaps was pushing, the IS7 really was hanging all the way back there. I'm probably not the best player in the world in that tank. And he's oh yeah, they've started capping. The IS7 probably should have started back towards the cap already, but like I said, clearly not the best player in the world from just how they were playing. When you've got someone, you know, the ideal thing for doing in a mouse, and I've been on teams, you know, I've got my own tier 10 now, so I've been on teams where a friendly mouse has done this and done this well, is pushing a flank, and basically everyone starts shooting at you, and the tanks around you can then push on the enemy. But Bacon was having to do it all himself, because the E75, well, the E75 did go round and take on that T30, credit due there, but the IS7 was just hanging back on the A line and really doing nothing at all. So BaconBaps was doing what you're supposed to do in a mouse, which is push a flank and just get in the enemy's faces and soak up their shots. And he's also done a pretty respectable amount of damage as well on top of doing that. So yes, it was favourable circumstances for doing that, but you then have to have you have to be of sufficient caliber as a player to recognise the circumstances and actually take advantage of them, and not every player does that. So, can he get this guy for the Radley Walters? Oof, 18 health. Can he reload in time? It would be nice to get that medal on top of the damage count. You know, 5k plus damage now. And oh no, he's looking at the T-54, which dies. So this AMX-50 is possibly his last chance to get the Radley Walters. We don't know where the IS-8 is. The last time he was spotted, he was on the K line still. He might be defending their cap, who knows. He might pop up here, or the E-75 might encounter him first. And because he stopped to aim that T-54, the IS-7's now basically going to get a plug at the AMX-50B. Which is a shame that BaconBaps won't get the Top Gun, not the Top Gun, the Radley Walters, the one that comes after Top Gun. I know what I mean. But yeah, unfortunately, the mouse not quite fast enough. So we've won this basically in large part to BaconBaps' effort. He's killed half the enemy team. And it's not like he was just kill securing. Some of them were kill secures, to be fair. There were some very, very low health enemies that he killed. But 5.2k damage, you cannot argue with that. That was pretty nice going. And that is, I think, ideal circumstances for a mouse. You know, those conditions on each team, with the lack of tier 10 tank destroyers, the lack of artillery. It just made for a very nice combination. And yes, he took some damage, but he still had a comfortable number of hit points left at the end there. So how did he do? Well, quite well. He got a steel wall and a Top Gun, obviously. 7 kills. He got, with premium, 2,000 experience, which is always nice. Without premium, he still got a fairly decent amount of experience, bearing in mind that this is a tier 10 tank, and it's... You get an experience bump in the lower tiers, because if you're shooting at higher tier enemies, then that gets you more XP. That's of course not possible in a tier 10, so that's why the E-75 on his team, even though he did a bit less damage and obviously had fewer kills, got the best score because he was shooting at higher tier enemies. And you know, having said that, that E-75 did almost 5k damage himself, so between the two of them, they did fairly well. And to be fair to that IS-7, yes, 3k damage is reasonably respectable, but he was being so passive at the end there when he should have been being a lot more aggressive, especially in an IS-7 with that number of hit points left. But then, you know, BaconBaps would have had less, you know, fewer kills, bit less damage, so we shouldn't complain about that too much. And yeah, also worth mentioning is just before I move on, is the potential damage received. 11,555. That's nearly, you know, 11,500 getting on for 12,000. That's pretty good going. The number of bounces he had there: 28 hits received, 11 penetrations. And of those penetrations, of course, I think some just went into the spaced armor and didn't do any damage. So, yeah, that's why I want a mouse, because that armor, oh my god, that armor. And also, it's a mouse. So much mouse. And, yeah, for a tier 10 battle, because he only shot regular ammo, that was pretty profitable. He made 121k raw, you know, income. And out of that he got 78k profit, and in any tank 78k profit would be nice. In a tier 10 tank it's really very nice indeed. So on the whole, well done Bacon, and you have only made me want to have a mouse even more, and I can't have one yet because I just am so far behind. So you bastards, I want a mouse. I want a mouse. Anyway, if you enjoyed this replay, you can hit the like button, you can leave a comment, you can subscribe to my channel or even my Facebook page. Facebook? I don't even know. And of course, as always, stay tuned for more.